And welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic has devastated the nightlife industry with social distancing, lockdowns, mask wearing, and early curfews. While the nightlife scene has definitely greatly been impacted by the pandemic, club owners and venue operators have the opportunity to take the time now to prepare for their reopening when that ultimately comes. Here now to tell us a little bit more is New York City Nightlife Event Curator, Jonas Young Borra. And Jonas, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Daren. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks much. And let's get right into it. When we talk about the whole nightlife industry, we talk about restaurants. We've had them on the show many times, and restaurateurs have told us how devastating this has been. But from a person that works in the field of nightlife, talk to us about how it's been for you and the devastation that's occurred. I mean, you guys have ultimately been all but destroyed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the difference is between restaurants and traditional nightclubs or bar spaces. And most people don't necessarily go out at night. It's a young person's game. Granted, there are some people, of a certain age that do want to party. That's true. But most people, when they think nightlife, they think, I'm going to go out to dinner. And restaurants typically close 10, 11 p.m. Well, the nightlife is 10, 11 p.m. on till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And it requires, most nightlife venues require as many people as possible. Now, we talk about 100% capacity. Now we're at 25% capacity in restaurants. Bars and nightclubs, if anyone's ever been to one, it's not 100% capacity. It's over capacity. These places are flowing with people. So it's the antithesis of social distancing that keeps these places alive. And with the current guidelines, it's impossible, as you said, to run an operation. And it's impossible to even make a profit if you are going to run an operation at 25, 30, even 50% capacity. You just can't do it.
So when we talk about what's going to happen in the future, we know that there has to be social distancing still. It's going to be for some time. We know there's also going to have to be PPE and mask wearing and things like that. How do you envision things being able to move forward for the nightlife industry, given the fact that we have these restrictions in place?
Sure. People are always trying to work on how we can work with COVID, how we can function with COVID. And the honest answer is we're social creatures. And when you want to go party, when you want to go hang out, you want to go socialize, meet new people, enjoy a birthday with friends. Sadly, we can't really do the things that we did pre-pandemic, even with any restrictions at all. So everyone's like, well, how can we work with the restrictions? Well, we've been doing that. And we've been seeing that people can't work, myself included. But every bartender, every waiter or waitress, every manager, and this is just a bigger issue than just the nightlife community. It's for sporting events, it's for concerts, it's for Broadway shows. Any kind of entertainment venue that requires a lot of people together, by closing off the number of people that you can have in, you're basically raising the ticket price, so to speak, right? The cost of drinks, the cost of entry. So now only a certain section of the population can enjoy socializing. And that's a future that I don't think anyone in New York wants to see. New York's the best when everyone can come together and not just a few very privileged amount of people can enjoy entertainment and nightlife. So I'm actually looking forward to the time when we don't have any restrictions. And until then, we've got to figure out a way, or the government's got to figure out a way to keep people, in their spaces so they can hold on to when everyone's vaccinated and everyone can kind of go back to 100%. I'm not a believer that we should just try to pick and choose here and there, because then it becomes very selective and it becomes a rich person's game. And that, to me, it's already way too top heavy. We need to kind of involve it so everyone has the opportunity to enjoy themselves again in New York.
Talk to me about the emotional strain. Obviously, it's emotional, it's psychological, and for some, it's even physical. There is a support chat that you guys have for promoters and DJs.
Yes, we right when this pandemic started, no one knew how long this was going to last. I kind of decided, let's do some just kind of way we can interact. And in the beginning, it was kind of like an unemployment channel. Most of the people, luckily, had really robust working jobs, but we didn't know what was going to happen. all of a sudden people are making this much money, and it's from 100 to zero practically overnight. And for people, especially with young families, that's very, very scary. So I started this little group chat, just New York nightlife promotions. It was for DJs and promotional people and club managers and the like. And we just kind of, it was an information sharing thing. And that ended up turning into another chat called Music Artists Anonymous, where I had entertainers, musicians. I also, DJ and write my own music, but that's kind of like my night job, and my day job, I worked at night. But it's basically an information section, sharing 24/7 on this chat. And then we'd have a Zoom call once a week, and we just kind of talk about the condition we're in. And frankly, it's been supportive and helpful for me, but certainly for everyone else in the chat, so they don't feel like they're alone during this time.
Yeah. So how do we see things playing forward? And how can somebody get connected to the chat?
Sure. I mean, anyone that's in the chat has been able to invite people in. I'm more than accessible. It's easy to find me online, as it is anyone now with a public profile. But I'm at Young Borra on any kind of social media handle. You can just reach out to me, and I'll gladly add you if someone had an interest in joining in. But the future, what I'm hopeful for is getting back to normal, and doing that as soon as possible. New York is in an unusual situation compared to other states because we aren't wide as we are tall. And when everything is, and I'm talking about edifices, obviously, large buildings, when you have so many people crammed into, 400 square foot apartments, whereas in every other part of the country, let's just say Florida, where everything's spread out and people kind of can take their space. There's no parallel parking. My cousin visited me from Florida a few months ago, and he didn't know how to parallel park because he could just pull right into a spot wherever he lives, right? New York is the most jam-packed place in the country. So the only way we're going to get back to what we need to is when everyone's vaccinated and when people in the public feel safe about going out. And I think that's going to come sooner than later, but I hope and I pray that it really does, because it's going to save a lot of people's jobs and a lot of people's homes, and no one wants to see a further continuation of what we've been experiencing.
Yeah. Jonas, got to leave it there, but man, thank you so much for sharing. And really, I hope that things do get better soon. And particularly as we talk about people who've been adversely affected, definitely those in the nightlife industry. So thanks much for sharing, and also providing a safe space for people to be able to communicate during this time. Thanks much.
Thank you so much for having me, Daren.
All right, taking a quick break. We got more shows. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.